All right, what's up, everyone? Kevin Allen here, aka the Geek from DFS Army, and I am back with another interview with a big winner from DFS Army. Today we have Teammoney22, who won the Fanduel NFL Sunday Million, 200K to first, 125K. He split it with some other guy, but life-changing money. What's up, Teammoney22? How are you feeling, my man?
Nothing much. I'm going to say I'm honestly still on cloud nine, but thanks for having me on, Kevin. I'm glad to talk through this lineup and the process.
For those of you guys who are tuning in, we were just talking off air and about how this lineup came together. And it really is spectacular. And I wanted to show you the leaderboard. Let's bring up the lineup. And my first thought looking in it is like, wait. My first thought looking at this lineup, and I was just telling you this off air, was how did I not get this lineup? What happened there? Like it looks like everybody that we were kind of talking about all week, with very few exceptions. But we did identify the one very, very sort of spectacular switch here that made it all come together. But let's start with a conversation that you and I had before Sunday on, I believe it was Saturday. Was it Saturday?
Correct.
Friday or Saturday?
It was actually Saturday night. Yeah. All
right. So what did you ask me at that time?
Yeah. So basically I was just having some thoughts run through my head, noticing, especially with these 2-game slates, ownership becomes pretty important. So I shot a message in the Dom Station channel, and I was basically asking you, did you ever have an idea to maybe enforce a slider for projected ownership, where if you increase the slider, it'll fade, the more chalkier players, add in some more lower owned guys. And then that's when you gave me this brilliant idea that you mentioned, instead of doing that, we can actually run, say, 30-40% extra lineups in our original run. And then we can sort it by our projected ownership. And then you actually go in and delete out those chalkier lineups at the top, which then leaves me with, my full set of lineups that have a lower ownership than I originally would have had.
In an arbitrary way. So yes, essentially you use the domination station to generate this lineup, and there was a few others. But correct. What we had talked about initially was, you had asked, okay, Kevin, can you set it up so that you can kind of use a slider and eliminate players based on their projected ownership? And while I've heard that idea before, and I had a quick answer because I had thought this through in the past. I said, I don't like that feature because it's not, when I see winning lineups, it's not like there's nobody who's 30 or 40% owned, and I don't want people to do that. So instead, what I do for my lineups is, if I'm making, let's say, 150, I'll run 180, and then I'll sort by the highest projected ownership, and I just eliminate the 30 highest owned lineups. That's just how I do this every time, and I kind of let it be arbitrary, so it gets rid of the chalk from my run, and it gets me a little bit of a less chalky run. So you had run, how many lineups did you make for this contest?
So I ran in 2 different contests. I ran 5 lineups into this contest, and I did the 30 max, which was $2 entry fee. So obviously that was 35 total entries. I think I ended up running about 45 to 50. I went a little bit higher. Just so, like I said, with the 2-game slates, things can be pretty variant. So I ran a couple of extra lineups and then just took off the top projected own.
It's crazy. I can't wait to get to there, guys. Stay tuned, because the way it comes together and the unusuality of this lineup is really, really cool. But so you only ran 5, and what's amazing is there's this idea, and it really, that you and your wife would normally need to get together, run 300 lineups to have any sort of a chance at winning one of these, right? That's like the common conception out there, perception of conception. Right. It's a common perception out there, right? You don't need to do that, though, because Teammoney22 did it with just 5 lineups. Right. Sharp playing. Now let's talk about what I think was the just the sharpest point here. Just going through the lineup, and even in the breakdown, I could bring up the notes from that week, but we all this slate is fresh in our minds. So what I'm looking at here is a stack. You got Watson, Stills, Fuller, same team. Come back with Williams and Kelsey. Then you've got, to call these stacks and secondary stacks a little bit ridiculous because it's essentially a 2-game slate. Everything is something, but it's a bit of a game stack there. And then you went and just played Lynch, who we talked about. I literally, I have him in my note as he will need 2 touchdowns.
Yeah, exactly.
But he could get them because he's going to get all the goal line work, which he did. That was amazing. I had a lot of Lynch on this one. Kelsey was a pretty obvious play. Adams was a pretty obvious play. It looks so obvious. Now tell the people the settings that you used and the change that you made that I believe fooled all other optimizers and allowed this to be sort of a handcraft winner, something where you were able to finish here and all these other, mass multi-entry people didn't hit it. And we'll talk about the reason why. So what was the change that you made? You said you eliminated some.
So after I generated the basically, after I generated them, I loaded them in and loaded them up to Fanduel, and that's where I kind of went through. I looked at the Sunday Million lineups, and I pulled up each one, and I tried to make a change or two because honestly, throughout the year, every time you try to just run an optimized lineup, usually it's not going to reach the top. So I looked at it. I came across this lineup, and that's where I only made one pivot, and it was really I had Sammy Watkins originally in this lineup, and that's when I pivoted from Sammy Watkins to Will Fuller, which gave me the double stack with Watson. And then, like you said, I think that also really differentiated myself because, as you can see, I also played the Chiefs defense. So I'm pretty sure most people didn't want to play a quarterback and 2 receivers against their defense.
This was the key. So this was the key move, and this is why this lineup was not generated all over the place, because the domination station amongst, and I assume other optimizers, have a function that says, how many players will you allow to face against your defense? Now, people had asked me how many should I allow? And most optimizers will default to 0. If you don't make a setting change, it will not let you play players against the defense. So what we always talk about on the Players Club, on the various breakdowns that I always do, the tutorials, is, in a short slate, and we were talking about 4 games. On the 4-game slate, for example, allow 2 players at least versus your defense, because that will give you some uniqueness. Our study of showdowns has also shown, single game, that 17% of the time, the captain that you use the captain in the winning lineup is going against the opposing defense 17%, which is a very high percentage of the time, and that's a winning lineup. So we've sort of discovered through our research that allowing some players against the defense is fine, but 3, that's a lot, right? So the beauty of this lineup was the Swift, and it's such a smart change. You had Will Fuller. You had Watkins in there. Now, Watkins isn't tied to Deshaun Watson very much, and he's kind of a turd of a player. He's going to be chalk, and I assume that's why you pulled him out. Sammy Watkins had a very, very high ownership. Was that it? Was that the reason you saw the ownership projections that screw this? Plus, I can get a little more correlation to Watson with Fuller instead of, was that the thought process?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So that was part of it. The other part of it was honestly, listening around the industry, I felt like people were still kind of scared to play Fuller. He was injured. He wasn't playing a lot. So just making that pivot really made me feel I was going to be differentiated, because I felt people were kind of scared that he would get hurt, in the first or second quarter.
Unbelievable. Really sharp pivot. That was definitely the case. And we talk about, again, all throughout the week. Fuller, risky play, gets hurt all the time. But for that same reason, he was a good play, because it's a 2-game slate. 2-gamer, what could happen? And Kenny Stills, also, to play Stills and Fuller together, usually it's one or the other. It's rarely both. Most lineups that have Deshaun Watson would have had DeAndre Hopkins as the quote unquote spend up. Instead, you went with Adams. That was another key move. I actually wound up with a very similar lineup. What's crazy, I have a very similar lineup to this that I handcrafted for this contest, but because it was Watson, I went with Hopkins, Watkins instead of Adams. Like, that small change is all you needed to do. Do a little something different. So that's really, really cool. Now, tell me your background. Tell me what was going through your head as you're sweating. You were in first place for a while, right? Like, this was hanging in first for a while. It's game 2. Which was the second game? Seattle. You've got Devontae Adams going off. Lockett's going crazy. You're being propelled. Marshawn Lynch touchdown. When did you hit first place? And what is going through your head at that moment? And who are you sharing this with?
Yeah, so it's actually funny because first, starting with the Chiefs game, I thought this lineup was done for. The Chiefs went down 24-0. I was like, oh man, I have Chiefs defense. I had them pretty much all over the place. So that was a wild roller coaster just to see them, at least get 7 points out of that game. And then going into the second game, I knew Lynch was pretty chalky. But I think I got into first place. I want to say it was like middle of the third quarter. I noticed myself jump up. I think it was when Lockett scored his touchdown. That really halted me up there. And I was like, wow, this is crazy. But I mean, I've been in that situation before. Third quarter, you're in first place with big GPP. And what happens in the fourth quarter, you drop down. So I was like, Dan, there's no way this is going to last. And then, the game kept going on. I think Lynch ended up getting his second TD later on in the fourth quarter. And I was like, okay, this can actually hold. And then Devontae Adams had that huge touchdown catch when the
you're just calmly like, yeah, this might hold. All right, maybe I can make 125K. Life might change. House, car, live large. It's fine. So
yeah, I've been
are you dying at this point? You're like, oh my god.
Yeah, no, trust me, I was sweating hard, and I mean, what I try to do sometimes if I start freaking out, I start texting people, maybe tell my wife. That's usually when I start jinxing it. So you can even ask my wife. I was sitting on the couch. I was quiet. I was just watching the game, pretending like nothing was going on.
By the way, that's the action of somebody who's been there before.
Right. No, you're good. So I was like, keep calm. Let's just, wait till the game hits all zeros. And honestly, at the end of the game was the wildest. As you know, obviously, they had that pass with Jimmy Graham. A lot of people complained, was it a first down? Was it not? And really, I think the top 5 or 6 guys, they really couldn't pass me, but there was someone who was 4 points behind me with Hollister. So really, I was really hoping, Seahawks can't get the ball back. You never know with this garbage time.
And yeah.
Right. Exactly. So I'm praying for them to come out of that review and call the first down. And then once they came out, they called the first down. That's when I knew, all right, he's going to kneel it down. And, that's when the celebration started happening. And I went nuts.
Unreal. I mean, man, I just, it's funny. I was watching the game hoping for the first down, because I had some other stuff going on. So I'm like, oh, but I'm way happier that it didn't happen because, screw that. Winning the Sunday Million on Fanduel is just a really, really, it's a really special thing to have happen. This is a pretty reasonable contest to enter because we talk about contest selection, and unlike the DraftKings Millie Maker that they run for the same contest, which was 2.7K in 2,700,000 entries, 1 million to first, which is a solid, 35% to first place, or 37, which is ridiculous, and it sucks all the money out of the pot. This one is pretty reasonable, 200K normally to first out of 1 million in entries, so 20%, much more reasonable, I would say, overall. And you didn't max it out, which is really amazing. So to me, it just shows that building a sharp correlated lineup with some uniqueness. And again, we go back to talk about what was so special about this lineup. Everybody who played Watson wanted to play him with DeAndre Hopkins. They defaulted Hopkins over Adams. So having Adams with Watson was already unique. 1, 2, 3 Texans versus the defense. A unique play. I will say that watching that game, and when the Texans were scoring early, it was like 50% KC defense. I was with you on that. I had a ton of them. I liked them the most, but I wasn't thinking like, oh no, my Mahomes shares are going to go bad. I was thinking, oh boy, this is going to be great for all of the Chiefs, and all the work went to Kelsey, which is fantastic. Do you have any plans for the money? What does your wife say after the win? Is she like, bullshit? I don't even believe it. No, they're going to take it away. Like, does she even believe it? You've had a swag bag win from DFS Army before, so you've had a big win in the past. How big was that one? I don't remember that other one.
I've had a couple. I think my second biggest now was, I don't know if you remember, I think it was about 2 years ago. A bunch of us actually came in first in that NBA contest we all split 12 grand. I think the top prize was 50 grand, but we ended up splitting it 12 grand each way because a bunch of people tied. So I hit that. I think like week 14 or 13, I won 6 grand in NFL this year. So I've been winning. I mean, obviously, my wife's like, oh, don't get ahead of yourself. Don't get carried away with this stuff, But then I think, once I showed her this win, she definitely was like,
play more.
Exactly. And she was like, no way, this is real. Like, do they really pay you this much money? And I'm like, yeah. Like, and within an hour they update your balance. So I was like, see, this is proof. And then you can just direct deposit it, it's there within 3 days. So yeah, that was proof.
Do you buy like, so this is one of the unspoken best parts of a big win, is that your wife doesn't mind you playing now. Like, she's like, I'd play. Take your time. I'll watch the kids. It's okay. Play more.
Exactly. Yeah, that's the best.
Do you get her something nice? Like, do you do anything like that? Do you splurge something for yourself with this win? Or is it more of a, hey, let me pay off my loans, let me do some things, and let me leave some money in so I can play without ever having to worry about making a deposit? Like,
so it's gonna be a little bit of a bunch of things. I think so my wife's actually back in school full time getting her doctorate, so she graduates in the spring. So I think we're definitely gonna plan a nice trip now. We definitely can go somewhere nice once she graduates and has some time off. And then I think we could splurge a little bit here and there. We just recently moved, so maybe we can help decorate.
Cool. I like that you have a level-headed approach to what to do with the funds. It sounds great, like good timing. Your wife having gone back to school and getting, would you say another degree? And so what better time to have a great win, and you could go out and celebrate that graduation with some of this money. You always want to do something nice for your wife because she tolerates your play. And as you know, like, do you focus on any other DFS sports? NFL, we all love NFL. Play a little NBA. What other sports are you into?
Yeah, I try to play pretty much most of the main sports. I do MLB, NBA, NFL. I'll play some PGA, and then dabble sometimes in the other sports. But now I used to play a lot more cash games. I've kind of played more tournaments now within the last year. And, obviously when you're running into like college basketball, those tournaments aren't too desirable. So I kind of stick to the bigger sports. Now,
tell me how you got started and how you got up to the point. I mean, it's not even saying you weren't playing massive dollars here. This was just 5 entries, $9 entries. So, $45, in this contest, you'd kind of said you maxed out or did the 30 entry, $60 in the $2 contest. Do you stick to that level of play? You're just about $100, $150 on an NFL slate, or have you stepped up or anything, your volume? Or is this kind of how you like to play? And no matter what kind of win you have, you kind of want to keep it in that zone, which I'm very much for, by the way. I don't think you need to step up your volume massively, regardless of having a big win. Like, this is a special thing. This is like a once in a lifetime potentially. But have you changed your volume? Did you sort of build your way up to something, or has this kind of always been your play? And hey, I keep it level headed. How do you do it?
Yeah, so I definitely built it up a little bit. Like I said, I've hit a couple. I got lucky to hit some GPPs in the past 2 years. which gave me a bigger bankroll. I do tend though to stay to the smaller dollar. If I have the opportunity to, we talk about it all the time in our Slack channel at the DFS Army that that quarter arcade, the 25 entry max. Usually those are a little bit softer because you don't have all those pros. They can't enter those contests. So I definitely try to take advantage of all those while I can. And I did increasing my bankroll this year. I did dive into like the $1, $1.50 max. I even played the $3 a couple of weeks. So I expanded up to there. With NFL being weekly, it's really not a big deal for me. But I do see now, we talk about all the time, higher dollar, low number of entrants contests. I think I could start diving into those soon. So
yeah, fun. That's how you could taste that victory a little more often, give yourself a shot. But I mean, hey, nothing's going to feel like this one. That's so great. Now, how long have you been a part of DFS Army as a member? I mean, we've had a lot of interactions. I remember just years of it, but how long have you been a DFS Army member?
So I joined in 2017. So I've been there quite a while. And it's funny, I still vividly remember the day I joined. I was playing DFS, but as most of us can probably relate to, when you're playing, you don't have much information. I was playing, pretty casually, and I was just getting smoked. And I was like, oh man, how do people actually win all this money? So I came across, just looking up sites, I actually came across an article that someone from your team wrote about MLB, and I was like, wow, this is really in depth. This is something that I'd be interested in. So I gave it a shot. I joined, and honestly, from there, I never looked back. I mean, the Slack chat has been amazing. I'm not the most active in it. I'm usually pretty busy during the week, but I'm always reading it. You guys are always giving us insight. I mean, we spoke on Saturday, and I used that to implement my lineups and ended up winning this. So, it's ever since I joined, you guys have so much information. I read the cheat sheets every time they're up there. And the way the DS has improved is amazing. I mean, that controlled stacking that we have for NFL, I use it every week.
You awesome. Use that. All right. That's, I always talk about it. I think it's something I dreamed up this past off season, as you know, just a little bit of a different way to set up game and team stacks. And I got to tell you, you dream something up, you have these ideas of this should work, right? But to see it in action, to see it this season take down a milli maker for Bobby, wow. And now this is just as impressive of a win, regardless of, it's a first place in a massive contest. Like, that is just an incredible thing. The amount of people that we had that took down tournaments this year using that system, and it's so unique and it's so different from what, from anything out there. It really has been like amazing to see it happen, and kind of just for you guys, like, to see the success of it and to allow people. I was just having a conversation today with someone, and it was my attorney I was dealing with some other crazy things about, and he plays DraftKings, and he was like, yeah, I play all the time. I never win. And I was like, do you even correlate, bro? And he's like, what does that mean? So
true.
He's like, what does that mean? I'm like, what are you doing? You have no idea. You never had a chance. So, I'm hooking him up with a free DFS Army membership for some thanks for doing a good job on my stuff today. But, I'm like, do you even correlate, bro? What are you doing? So that really is awesome to hear. This is just an incredible finish for your NFL season. Like, how are we going to top this? Teammoney22, how are we going to top this? Like, what can we do from here? After I think someone's gonna have to take it.
Someone's gonna have to take it down this Sunday.
I think it's got to happen. Now I feel a lot of pressure. Now I'm going to enter this $9 one. I'm going to max it because we got to keep this rolling. No question, man. And I'm going to allow 3 or 4 players versus my defense for uniqueness in this case. So, again, the magic of this lineup. How do you get unique in a 2-game slate? Allow 3 players versus your defense. Genius. I love it. Take the quarterback. Don't stack him with the most obvious number 1 wide receiver. Stack him with number 2 and number 3. Print cash. That's how it came together. I am so happy for you. Enjoy this. Enjoy the moment. Enjoy the feeling of it. It's a special thing. It's why every single one of me too. I'm playing for a long time. I don't have I get excited when I'm in a tournament, when you're at the top of it. Everybody gets excited. This is why we play. The feeling is once in a lifetime kind of stuff, although occasional in a lifetime, but it should be once in a lifetime based on the odds. And it's a special feat to do something like this. So congratulations to you. Congratulations to your wife. I will be sending, as part of our swag bag, a ladies t-shirt. We have a number of them. I print because I am not a misogynist. When we order, I'm like, order some ladies tees. What we got a ladies. DFS gal is taking down tournaments. She's got one, I think. I haven't sent many out though. For real, there's in a box. I got so many of them. So I'm always like, you need a ladies tee? So we'll get you some swag. This is an awesome win. Spot on the Wall of Fame. Another spot on the Wall of Fame for you. Congratulations again. Anytime, hit me up. Of course, I appreciate you doing this interview. I love doing these because the people who are watching this, it's inspiring. Like, it's inspiring to me. I'm inspired by you. And I find this inspiring. Like, think sharply about your lineup. Try to be a little bit different without being ridiculous or stupid. There's nothing stupid or ridiculous here. Like, there is just nothing silly here. Every player, you're looking at this lineup, you're like, how did I not hit this? I had lots of Stills. I had plenty of Fuller. Watson, of course. But it came together. We're all over Lockett. I mean, these are all core plays. It came together beautifully. The one little switch, Hopkins to Adams, Watson to Fuller. It's literally the first lineup that would have come up before that swap when you were stacking. So to see it in action and to pair it up with Chiefs defense, it's really awesome to see. So happy for you. Thank you for coming on. Thank you for doing this with me. And man, I'll see you in DFS Army Slack as always. Member for life, I'm sure, after this one. Like, no one goes anywhere after that. So appreciate everything. Hit me up anytime with any questions. And if you need any sort of advice on the tax side of this, you can hit me up in Slack as well. My one little piece of advice, as this was, I believe, in the new year, is, don't spend it all.
Right.
Put some aside.
Yeah. Well, thanks again, Kevin, for having me. I appreciate it. And just to everyone in the Army, feel free to shoot me a DM if you're looking for assistance. I'd be glad to help you out. But you guys know the staff is great, and they know much more than I do. So just keep chugging along and trust the process, and you'll hit eventually.
You will be getting a lot of DMs now. A lot of them. All right. For Team Money and for myself, Kevin Allen, this is my favorite thing that we do. So thank you for coming on. Good luck this weekend. I hope I take down the big NFL contest. But if I don't, I hope it's you. Take down another one. Hell yeah.
Let's do it.
Really good stuff, man. I appreciate you coming on.
Awesome. Thanks.
Take care.
Bye.